The night I almost died began with rain pounding the highway like a warning I refused to hear. My car spun out of control in a blur of red lights and shattered glass, and in those few terrifying seconds, I felt the weight of every mistake I had ever made crash down on me along with the metal. I remember thinking that this was how stories ended for people like me. Alone, unseen, and forgotten on a dark road. Pain wrapped around my body, and fear wrapped around my heart. I drifted in and out of consciousness, listening to distant sirens growing louder, not knowing if they were coming to save me or to confirm that my time was over. Before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when strangers choose compassion, please take a moment to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to this channel for more stories that remind us love can appear when we least expect it. When I opened my eyes again, flashing blue and red lights painted the rain-soaked road in trembling colors. 2 police officers stood over me, their silhouettes sharp against the storm. They moved with urgency, but there was something else in their presence, an unexpected gentleness, like they were holding together more than just a broken body. One of them kept steady pressure on my shoulder to keep me conscious, while the other directed traffic and called for medical help. I could barely hear them over the rain and the ringing in my ears, but I felt their hands anchoring me to the world. In that moment, those sirens were not just emergency sounds, they were the beginning of a different life. My injuries were serious but not fatal. Weeks passed in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and loneliness. I had no family close by, and the friends I once trusted had drifted away when life became too heavy. Every day felt like a test of endurance, both physical and emotional. Then, one afternoon, the door opened, and one of the officers walked in holding a small paper bag of fruit and a nervous smile. He had come to check on me, he said, but it felt like something deeper than duty had brought him there. His presence filled the sterile room with warmth. He asked how I was healing, listened to my story without judgment, and reminded me that surviving the crash meant my life still had a purpose. Over the next few weeks, he returned often, sometimes alone and sometimes with the other officer who had been there that night. They brought coffee, simple jokes, and quiet companionship. They never spoke about heroism, yet everything they did carried the quiet weight of people who had chosen to care beyond the limits of their job. Slowly I realized that my heart was waking up in a way it had not in years. It was not sudden or dramatic. It was like sunrise after a long, cold night, soft and impossible to ignore. Recovery was not easy. I had to relearn how to walk without pain and how to trust the world again. Nightmares followed me, replaying the crash in cruel detail. But whenever fear tried to pull me back into darkness, the memory of their steady hands reminded me that I was not alone. One of the officers became a constant presence in my life. We began meeting outside the hospital once I was discharged, taking slow walks in the park, sitting on benches while the sun dipped below the trees. Our conversations were not rushed. They were filled with stories of past wounds, hidden fears, and dreams we had never dared to speak aloud. For years, I had hidden parts of myself out of fear of rejection. Loving another man felt like a truth I had learned to bury. Yet with him, the truth felt safe. He did not try to change me or save me from myself. He simply saw me. In his eyes, I was not a victim of a crash or a broken soul. I was someone worth knowing. The more time we spent together, the more I realized that the accident had not only spared my life, it had given it meaning. The challenges did not disappear. There were whispers from people who did not understand our connection and quiet battles within ourselves about what the future might look like. He carried the weight of responsibility from his uniform, and I carried scars that would never fully fade. But love does not arrive perfectly formed. It grows through fear and patience, through shared silence and small victories. We learned to build something real out of the fragile moments we were given. One evening, as rain once again tapped against the windows of a small cafe, I understood that the sirens that once terrified me had become symbols of rescue, not just from death, but from despair. The road that nearly ended my story had instead written a new chapter. I had been pulled from twisted metal and emotional isolation into a life shaped by compassion and courage. What began as a tragedy turned into a reminder that love often arrives disguised as chaos, As time passed, my body healed, but my heart healed faster. I found purpose in telling my story to others who felt invisible, to remind them that even in the worst moments, someone might be on their way to help. He continued his work as an officer, and I learned to support him in ways that honored both his duty and his humanity. Together, we became living proof that connection can rise from ruin. Now when I hear sirens in the distance, I no longer feel fear. I feel gratitude. I remember that night on the highway, and how two strangers became the bridge between life and loss. My scars remain, but they are no longer signs of weakness. They are symbols of survival and of a love born from tragedy. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate love in unexpected places. Before the ending, I have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel. Hope, sadness, or belief in second chances. Your words might inspire someone who is struggling right now. In the end, my life was not saved by flashing lights alone. It was saved by the quiet decision of two people who chose to care, and by the courage to let love grow where fear once lived. From broken glass and rain-soaked roads came a future I never imagined, and every day I wake up knowing that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin where everything seems lost.